pipsqueak over here now. We woke up yesterday morning to pictures of Harry bursting through the VIP area, minus the security, of course.
Front page of the Telegraph has got Harry's back home. Picture of Harry looking a little bit...
Prince Harry stepped off that plane at Heathrow like he thought the whole nation had been waiting for him. The cameras zoomed in, and there he was, jaw tight, lips pressed, hiding behind those dark signature sunglasses as if they could shield him from reality. His jacket collar stood tall, not just against the autumn chill, but almost like a flimsy wall against the icy judgment he knew was coming. This wasn't just a walk through an airport. This was Harry bracing himself, walking into the lion's den of his past. And oh, what an entrance it could have been. But instead of applause, instead of banners and Union Jacks fluttering, there was silence.
What happens? He'll have protection. He'll have people looking after him, not only his own people, but they will do it. They would have.
It was supposed to be his triumphant moment, his grand return to the land of his birth. The same country that once treated him like royalty. Literally, the boy who stole hearts, the rebel prince, Diana's son. Harry thought deep down Britain might still hold a soft spot for the prodigal prince who left but might one day come back seeking forgiveness. But oh no, that fairy tale didn't exist anymore.
To the UK, the estranged royal went straight from the airport to visit Queen Elizabeth.
The truth hit harder than the London drizzle. The city had moved on. There were no crowds waiting at Heathrow, no excited fans clutching little flags, no old ladies tearing up at the sight of Diana's boy. The arrivals gate was a wasteland of indifference, just silence. Cold, empty, cruel silence. Even the press, usually a ravenous pack when Harry's around, barely bothered. A handful of bored photographers clicked a few lazy snaps before drifting away to cover weather updates and celebrity bake-offs. One even muttered under his breath, "Hardly worth the petrol." That's how far he'd fallen. Harry expected cheers. What he got was crickets, and you could see it hit him. That fleeting flicker of disappointment across his face, that almost invisible wince when he realized there was no welcoming committee, no royal cars, no chanting fans, no one to claim him. Just airport staff sneaking glances like he was some ghost from another era. And let's be honest, he was once the golden boy of this country.
Prince Harry, he says that his conscience, if I can say that word, Prince Harry says that his conscience is clear after spending years, of course, rubbishing.
Harry was the cheeky spare, the mischievous heartthrob splashed across tabloids as Britain's own fairy tale rebel. He could walk into a pub and have pints shoved into his hands by strangers desperate to say they'd shared a drink with a prince. He was adored. But that was before Oprah, before the memoir, before the endless accusations and bitter lawsuits, before he set fire to every bridge and then acted shocked when no one wanted to rebuild them. This trip? Oh, it was supposed to be his redemption arc, his chance to soften the ice, to prove he still cared about his homeland. The palace had even whispered it out. Harry was coming back for a charity event. A perfect opportunity to show humility, to thaw frozen relations, to test the waters of public forgiveness.
Speak to me, but it would be nice to reconcile.
4 months after telling the BBC that.
But you know what? The buzz never came. The tabloids barely touched it. Those papers that once foamed at the mouth for any Harry headline tucked the story away like it was gossip about a minor celebrity. A tiny footnote under baking scandals and weather maps. That was the brutal truth. Harry wasn't even scandalous anymore. He was just background noise. And then came the venue. Oh, it got worse.
Just to finish, I think the British people's opinion is dead set about Meghan Markle. I think it's more dead set than he thinks about him as well. I think he thinks that people will forgive him. I'm not sure.
Harry rolled up with his full LA-style security detail. Black SUVs, tinted windows like he was prepping for pandemonium. But the sidewalks? Empty. No screaming fans, no flashing bulbs. Just a couple of confused tourists craning their necks, thinking maybe someone important was about to appear. Harry climbed out, gave that nervous little half smile of his, the one he uses when he's praying for reassurance, but it crumbled immediately. There was no one to smile back at him, not even his family, not Charles, not William, not even Princess Eugenie, his last line of defense. Every single royal stayed away. And don't be fooled. It wasn't a scheduling conflict, it was a message. Inside, the vibe was suffocating. Staffers tried to mask it with polite applause, forced smiles, quick photo ops, but the energy? Heavy. The air screamed what everyone was thinking. What is he even doing here? Even the people sharing the stage wouldn't meet his eyes. One presenter cut remarks short, another hurried off without shaking his hand. It was awkward, humiliating, chilling.
King Charles should have been wise.
For Harry, who once lived for the spotlight, This must have been a nightmare. He walked on stage expecting flashbulbs and adoration, but instead it felt like the lights dimmed on purpose. The silence in the room was louder than any boos could have been. Because here's the thing, boos mean people still care enough to hate you. But silence? That's indifference. That's worse than hatred. And Harry? He can handle scandal, he can survive outrage. But being irrelevant, being ignored, that's his deepest fear. After the speeches, he tried to linger, hoping someone, anyone, might approach him. A kind word from a dignitary, maybe a reporter with a quick question. But no. He just stood off to the side with a flimsy paper cup of tea, eyes darting around like a lost schoolboy. Staffers whispered he looked deflated. Not angry, not proud, just broken. And when he finally slipped out the back door into the black SUV, the image was haunting. His eyes, glassy, puffy, red, blinking hard like a man barely holding it together. He didn't wave, he didn't smile. He just kept his head down and walked fast as if the building had scorched him. That night, it got even sadder. Palace sources say Harry didn't even stay in a royal residence. Not Frogmore, not Clarence House, not Kensington. No, he holed up in a lonely London hotel, alone. No family dinner, no reunion, not even a phone call from William. Think about that. Diana's 2 boys, once inseparable, now so fractured that one flies across the world and doesn't even get a text. And when word spread that Harry was back in the UK, the country barely blinked. No Prince returns banners, no splashy coverage, just indifference. For a man who gave up everything thinking freedom would keep him adored, the reality hit like a punch. His old life had erased him. Because here's the truth. For all Harry and Meghan's talk of independence and new chapters, Harry has been chasing approval this entire time. Every interview, every Netflix deal, every tell-all, it all circles back to the family, the country, the love he walked away from but still secretly hoped would be waiting. But it wasn't, and there he was, standing in the grey London drizzle, realizing Britain had moved on. That night in that quiet hotel, staff said he barely touched his room service, pacing back and forth like a man trapped in his own regrets. Footsteps thudding across the floor until late, like he couldn't settle, couldn't breathe, and who could blame him?
That's it. Let's talk about, the only man who's potentially less popular in the United Kingdom.
Because this wasn't about one empty airport gate or one cold charity crowd. This was the brutal confirmation of Harry's darkest fear. Britain no longer sees him as theirs. By morning, he reportedly called Meghan. But, that didn't go the way he hoped. While Harry was drowning in drizzle and silence, Meghan was basking in California sunshine, sipping green juice, living her best life. And she was furious. Furious he'd gone back without her. Furious she'd been proven right. Because Meghan had warned him, don't expect warmth, don't expect your family, don't expect the public to care. And now that she was right, she wasn't gentle, she wasn't sympathetic, she was angry. Not just at the humiliation, but at what it meant for her. Insiders say she snapped that he was making them look weak, accused him of chasing people who had slammed the door. Imagine it, Harry, voice trembling, on the verge of tears, just wanting his wife to comfort him. And instead, he gets a lecture about optics. That was the final twist of the knife. After that call, his mood collapsed completely. Staff said he shut the curtains, turned off his phone, and locked himself in that hotel suite for the entire day. He skipped lunch, he skipped the second charity event. He didn't even bother calling organizers, he just didn't show. And of course, whispers started instantly. Is Harry okay? But that was the heartbreaking part. Nothing had happened, nothing at all. No drama, no scandal, just silence. And that silence was what broke him. Meanwhile, back at the palace, they carried on like he didn't exist. And the press? Oh, they picked up on it. Headlines weren't splashed with drama. They were cold digs. Prince visits London, goes largely unnoticed. Royal no more. Brutal. Quietly brutal. The kind of humiliation Britain does best. By the time he left London 2 days later, he was a shell. No crowds, no paparazzi, no send-off. Witnesses at Heathrow said he looked shattered, shoulders slumped, jaw trembling, eyes red and swollen. One airport worker even whispered, he looked like he was going to a funeral, not flying home. And in a way, he was. He was burying the last illusion that Britain was still his home. When he landed back in California, Meghan didn't even meet him at the airport. While Harry was chasing ghosts in London, Meghan had been networking, attending events, distancing herself from the UK once and for all. To her, Britain is old news. To Harry, it's the one place that could have made him whole again. Now he knows it never will. Back in Montecito, the silence around Harry was deafening. Friends whispered that something had changed in him. This wasn't the fiery, outspoken Harry who once roared against the press, slammed the palace, or marched into interviews ready to unload. This Harry was quiet, too quiet. No new interviews, no pap walks down California streets, no dramatic public statements. Just silence. Like a man licking his wounds, or worse, realizing he had no fight left. And that's what terrified the people close to him. Because Harry, for all his rebellion, for all his anger, had always been fueled by something. Whether it was love, rage, duty, or even defiance. But now, it looked like there was nothing left to fuel him at all. Insiders say he spends long hours in his Montecito garden, pacing just like he did in that London hotel, lost in thought. Sometimes he scrolls through old photos of his army days, sometimes pictures of his mother. Sometimes sources say he stares at headlines of himself from 10 years ago, when crowds adored him, when Britain still claimed him as their cheeky prince. The contrast? It's brutal. Because here's the truth nobody dares say out loud. Harry didn't just lose the public's love, he lost their attention. And in Britain, once the public stops looking at you, they don't look back. Ask any washed-up tabloid darling, ask any ex-royal hanger-on. Once you're gone from the front page, you're gone from their hearts. That's why this trip mattered so much to him. That's why it broke him so completely. Harry didn't return for duty, not for charity, not even really for reconciliation. Deep down, he came back to test one thing. Do they still love me? And the answer was merciless. No cheers, no boos, no protests, no passion at all. Just nothing. And nothing, my friends, hurts more than nothing. Picture it. A man who once commanded stampedes in the streets of London, now wandering those same streets invisible, like a ghost no one cares to see. People walked past him, phones in hand, busy with their own lives. Not because they hated him, not because they adored him, but because they simply didn't notice him anymore. That's the cruelest fate for a man like Harry, because when he stepped away from the monarchy, he thought he could leave and still be adored. He thought the love was unconditional, that the magic of Diana's boy would never fade. But now, staring at the ashes of what used to be his world, he's finally seeing the truth. They don't adore him, they don't even hate him, they just don't care anymore. And that, not the scandals, not the Oprah interview, not the lawsuits, not even the feud with his family, that is what finally made him cry.